That's Nate Bauer. I'm Greg Pickel from Blue White Illustrated. We both thought about picking Penn State big over Auburn. Nate, we both ended up picking Penn State to win and cover, but maybe not blow out the way the Tigers, to blow out the Tigers rather, the way Penn State did today. 41-12 here at Jordan-Hare Stadium. It was really never in doubt for Penn State after the first quarter, and you could even make the argument that even then they looked like the better team and had some early stops where field goals instead of touchdowns for Auburn, and it really set the tone.
Yeah, I think that you could look at it and see the first half and say, okay, this is a Penn State team that's better than Auburn, but some of those ghosts just stuck around, messing around, some false start penalties, backing themselves up, letting Auburn kind of get away with some stuff. And I think that officiating probably will be talked about from both sides a little bit after this one.
Big Ten crew, by the way.
But they go into the half at, 14-6, and Nick Singleton. right? Like, they get a stop at the start of the second half. Nick Singleton has that big run at the beginning of the third quarter, and really the game never felt the same. This place went silent for the most part. People started to leave by the end of the third quarter because at that point he had done what he does, right?
Exactly.
He gave them a 21-6 lead, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So, no, I mean this is an interesting one because I see 41-20 or 41-12 up on that scoreboard. And for at least the first half of football, it didn't really feel quite like that. But Penn State was able, very obviously, to translate the things that it did well in the first half into actual points in the second half, and it changed the game.
Yeah, let's not forget that Auburn outgained Penn State in the first half, but again, it was Penn State's red zone defense that stood up and forced 2 Auburn field goals. They get out of there with a 14-6 lead at halftime based on a couple turnovers, some stops, and they weren't all that crisp in the first half, I don't think, offensively. But and not that they were bad, but there was just a couple misses here or there that would have probably helped make this spread wider at halftime. But after the break, they just looked like the better team. For all of the sorry talk about the heat and everything else, Auburn was the team that was gassed, even though it plays here in Alabama, of course, regularly, 5 games at home to start the year. Brian Harson's in trouble, but that's obviously a different conversation. Penn State just took the will away from this Tigers team. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, very good. Offensive line, very good. Abdul Carter was great on defense. I mean, a lot of positives here, Nate.
Sean Clifford, very good.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
It's such a funny... Right, I mean, he gets his own hour-long segment next week because of the way that this has gone for him, right? And so here's a guy who the screaming and yelling about missing Parker Washington for an easy touchdown just feels kind of silly right now, just given the way that the game ended up playing out and some of the plays that he made, his ability to just be tough and just be patient and mature and composed, all of those things that are undeniable about Sean Clifford. Whereas, look, there's plenty about him that is deniable and that people will have arguments about that. All of that is fine, but those elements that he does bring to the table, I thought that they were on full display this afternoon, and he was certainly able to do that. I thought defensively, the turnovers changed everything, right? And particularly in light of the first 2 weeks of the season when they weren't able to generate those turnovers. Obviously, they had one at Purdue that was a big one, but just in general, they hadn't been able to do that. You've got Tig Brown that makes a really great interception here on the sideline back there, and Zakee Wheatley just... I mean, Ryan Snyder said it. The ball just finds him. He finds the ball. It is a marriage and a match made in heaven between the ball and Zakee Wheatley. And again, it changes the game when you've got one offense that cannot move the ball. They can't do anything with any type of consistency. They were able to. They generated yards. In fact, Auburn finished the first half with more yards than Penn State did offensively, but couldn't do anything with it. They could not get into the red zone and actually finish the job, whereas Penn State's defense just held firm, and they were able to do that basically all afternoon.
A happy flight home for James Franklin and the Penn State Nittany Lions. Now 3-0, Nate, moving on to Central Michigan. That game at noon next weekend at Beaver Stadium. We'll be there, but I guess that'll about do it from here at Jordan-Hare Stadium. We have some writing to do. You can read it all. BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. It's 1 year for $1. Sign up today. That deal is not going to last forever, folks, so jump on it as the Lions improve to 3-0. There's going to be a lot of recruiting news to talk. T. Frank's film breakdown. Ryan and Sean obviously will have all the recruiting angles covered, and Nate will have you covered for for the team. For Nate Bauer, I'm Greg Pickel. We will talk to you from Beaver Stadium next week, but that's it from Jordan-Hare Stadium. Penn State wins 41-12. I have to keep looking up and make sure I have that right.
You got it right, yeah.
It turned into a much bigger blowout than expected, but we'll catch up with you next week.
Also, like the video.
Yes,
Thanks.
and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. Yeah.